There is like this element of inspiration for me when I come here. There is a comforting feeling about being here that it just feels like I'm almost like, I'm kind of like home, you know, it's like a place of belonging for me. And it's, so growing up, I grew up in a place where there was a lot of artists and art studios. And so it was like, here's my corner where I'm painting, and then here's like my gallery, you know, and I'm showing the work. So I think I just saw it a lot. And I think it probably, you know, it was exciting to me as a kid to like see these people at work making things. A lot of my work is inspired by things that I find. I collect a lot, as you can see from my studio. I have a lot of collections. A lot of them are, you know, nature-based from my explorations from all over the country or the world. And I started to really just take note of the way that you kind of start seeing yourself in nature. I think conceptually, I've sort of been on this track for a while. And the title that I gave this was probably around the time I was making these, is called Rewilding. And the reason that I titled it Rewilding is because I had been with a group of friends, mostly females, and we talk about, you know, we actually talk about rewilding because there is such a strong patriarchy in our country and the world that women actually need to take an active role in getting back their wild feminine and kind of go back to that ancient place of who we are. And so I just felt this was so appropriate in terms of like that rewilding and then bewilderment, be wild. And I don't want to limit it just to say women or feminists. I also, you know, every one of us has a masculine and feminine within us. And so I think it's really about pushing against these like boundaries of, you know, what society, what, you know, patriarchy tells us, and really remembering, you know, where we're from, where our roots are. And in that way, we are able to have more power within ourselves and care for each other and the place that we live. You know, so I think it encompasses social and environmental. This piece was one of the first in the series. As I was just starting to explore this really merging, or this kind of surrealness around human form and natural form. One of the things that I'm really enjoying about working this way is that there's just, I find, and I hope other people find, that there's a lot of beauty in this work. I mean, I don't think I could ever replicate the beauty of Mother Nature, which is why I don't try to paint sunsets, which is why I don't try to, when people say, oh, could you paint that? I'm like, I'm not trying to paint that. Mother Nature has done it, you know, we have that beauty. And so I hope that my pieces are beautiful. I realize that beauty is important to me in my work. The reason for that is because, one, I'm inspired by beautiful objects, not beautiful natural objects, but also because I know humans are drawn to beauty. And so I find that if I can draw something beautiful, it will entice the viewer, and then hopefully what happens is then I catch them. So beauty becomes almost like a subversive act to get them engaged with the piece, and then they start to understand the deeper meaning. A quote that I read at some point that really resonated with me, and is why I think humans are drawn to the natural world, is that nature is unapologetically itself. And I know, and that really struck me because that's the way I feel when I am in, you know, in the woods or by the ocean, is that there's no judgment. Nature is what it is. And so it becomes very healing to humans to be around nature because it's not expecting anything else of you. And so I think with this is kind of like a homage, you know, to that, but also bringing it inside, and then I'm internalizing it. And then, as we talked about before, you know, maybe kind of creating like a ritual to then externalize it and share it with others. The other thing that's really important in my thought process and in my work is this element of wonder, imagination, and kind of the surreal that you're starting to see that kind of comes out with this integration of human and nature. And I really think a lot about that space, that liminal space between consciousness and subconsciousness. I dream a lot, and I read a lot of books by authors that kind of play on that like surreal realism. So that space of kind of like what is real, what is not real, in between sort of this waking and dream, feels like a really good tension that I like to play with.